Yo, what's up, y'all? How we doing? How we doing? This is not a series recap vid. It's gonna be one of those emergency episodes where I talk about what the hell happened in a specific game and how it could determine the outcome of the series and all that other stuff, bro. Let's talk about the Pistons and the Magic because Cade Cunningham scored 39 points. He had four assists and I think five rebounds as well, if y'all allow me to check the box score. And then you had Tobias Harris, who was their second leading scorer with 17. Jalen Duren had a DeAndre Ayton game, and y'all know how I feel about DA. That dude is soft as Charmin, and pardon me with the zooming in on the camera. That's kind of funny. But Jalen Duren was playing like DeAndre Ayton, and DeAndre Ayton in that Lakers Rockets game one, he played like Jalen Duren. Like 19 and 11 for DeAndre Ayton, that's the numbers I expected for Duren. But Duren only had 8 and 7. On the other hand, you had Paulo Banchero with 23 points. And what I liked about Paulo since that Philly game and that Boston game at the very end of the very last day of the regular season is that Paulo was looking to be aggressive from the very jump against the Philadelphia 76ers, the dude didn't want to shoot the ball, or if he shot the ball, he took these weird fadeaway jump shots, which I'm just like, dog, you are not Kevin Durant. I and it sucks because Paulo is just so gifted and skilled, and that's what kind of pissed me off watching Paulo Banchero in that playing game versus Charlotte on Friday night, and then last night's game against Detroit. Paulo is just so athletically gifted at 6'10", 250. The guy either plays like Aaron Gordon and LeBron, or he chooses to play like Andrew Wiggins or Kevin Durant. And that kind of really makes me scratch my head because he's not the type of player Durant is, but he tries to play like him, which makes no sense. But at the very beginning, Paulo was hitting his jump shots, even though it's just like if y'all look at his stats, and let me look at this dude's stats real quick because apparently he wasn't great from three all year. Yeah, he was 30% from three, which is his worst since his rookie year. For some context, y'all, his second season where he forced a game seven versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, Paulo shot 34%. Last year, he shot 32%. And of course, as far as overall efficiency, this is probably his best year being efficient at 46%. The point being is that Paulo was ultra aggressive. And that's what I loved and kind of hated because it's just like, where was this against Philly when they didn't have Embiid, right? Franz Wagner had 19 points. And the one thing I will say, him and Wendell Carter Jr., when it felt like Detroit was clawing their way back into the game and it felt like they were going to take the lead, they broke Detroit's momentum with their timely shots. And there was a play where Franz Wagner had a free throw line floater where he thought he got fouled to put the Magic up 8. And you could say that that was the end of the game right there. And then Wendell Carter Jr., he was an interior presence, and his defense on Jalen Duren was a big difference in this game, too. Jalen Suggs got the Magic started with a couple deep threes, and you could say that how do you say in NFL terms for those of y'all who are football fans, that is what established Orlando's run game. Because when you establish a run game, it opens up the passing game in the NFL or in football. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is Jalen Suggs got them started when he hit a couple deep threes, and that really started things for Orlando. Desmond Bain had a good first half, and I think he hit a couple timely buckets in the second half. I think in the fourth quarter. I gotta rewatch the highlights. Tristan da Silva had 7 big points, and I know it's 7 points, but some of them were, or all those 7 points came at critical times during the game. Anthony Black, same thing. So, what I really liked about Orlando is that they moved the ball. One of the things that kind of marred the Orlando Magic this whole entire year was inconsistencies on offense, and obviously it doesn't help that all their players were hurt. Like Franz Wagner was hurt for 50 games. I think Desmond Bain, from what it looked like the whole entire season, he was their most consistent player. And I would have made my video about the Magic, and I would have said that this is a problem because he's been the most healthy and he's been the most consistent player. But and obviously Jalen Suggs has been always, or he's always been injury prone dating back to last year, which is why he missed the rest of the regular season in 2024-25, and he only played 57 games this year. But now you're seeing what a fully healthy Orlando Magic team is starting to look like with Desmond Bain added to the line. Because remember, they had to give up 4 first round picks, Contavious Caldwell Pope, KCP, and Cole Anthony. You know what I'm saying? So we're really starting to see that this may not be a great matchup for the Detroit Pistons. And let me tell you why. Yes, Cade had a great game. He had 39 points. But the thing is, if Tobias Harris is your second leading scorer, there is a lot of problems there, bro. Go ask the Philadelphia 76ers, Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, or ask Sixers fans. There was a game in like I think it was like Game 7 versus the Boston Celtics. It was 20 when back in 2023. Tobias Harris was their leading scorer, but the thing is the Celtics were living with that. As long as James Harden and Joel Embiid didn't get theirs, Tobias Harris, this is your game, brother. This is your game. And I think he had like what, 17, 18, 19 points, something like that. It's the same thing here. Teams are willing to live with Tobias Harris being the best or second best option because Duran essentially gave me nothing. Yes, he had he it was 3 or 4 from the field. If y'all can tell from the game, Wendell Carter limited his attempts. And you want to know something too? Orlando was rotating onto the roll man. Every time they did that Cade and Jalen Duran ball screens, there was always somebody waiting in backside help when they were trying to ice the screen. And one thing that Orlando did well was they iced every ball screen. They pushed either Dennis Jenkins or Cade Cunningham to the sideline, and someone was always right there as a weak side help on Jalen Duran's role, which made a huge difference for Orlando last night. And then you look at Detroit's bench, they got nothing. Dennis Jenkins, yes, he's a good player, and he's one of the reasons why the Pistons were able to fare well and maintain their number one spot in the East without Cade. But he's a second year player. He was an undrafted second year player at that. And you're expecting him to carry the load for this Pistons team when Cade is not on the floor. That's why I said that not getting a guy like, or not retaining Dennis Schroeder was going to hurt them because at least with Dennis, yes, he's as small as Danish Jenkins because he's like Danish, like Daniss, and then Dennis is like, well, Dennis. But Schroeder, he may be small, but at least he can control some of the tempo or maintain some of the tempo that Detroit ran when Cade was on the bench last year. He definitely was a big difference maker. Yes, he was small, but he was an experienced vet. Danish Jenkins is not. He's a second year player. Karis LeVert only played 4 minutes. Yeah, he had a three, great. And Kevin Huerter only had a three in 18 minutes. Dude was doing cardio out there. It doesn't make sense, bro. And I said this in a lot of my videos talking about the Pistons, and especially in that Cade Cunningham video where I said that Cade's injury exposed Detroit. I literally said Kevin Huerter, of all people. Not KCP, who is a champion. Not Klay Thompson, who is a much better shooter than Kevin Huerter. I don't care what anyone says. Not even Luke Kennard, who was doing yeoman's work for the Lakers, and he helped us get a win with his 27 points. And Luke is one of those guys where he can make a play by putting the ball on the floor. He's one of those 3-point shooters. He could have been so serviceable. Klay low-key is like the same thing, but he's kind of the same type of player as Duncan Robinson and Kevin Huerter. So maybe for some of y'all that want to come after me about Klay, that y'all may be right, but I'll take my chances with him. And KCP can also make plays on the floor as well. You know what I'm saying? But no, let's bring in Kevin Huerter, who hasn't really had that memorable of a season since like what, the 2022-23 season where he was on that third seeded Sacramento Kings team who got bounced by the Warriors in the first round. Y'all thought that was a good pickup. And Karis LeVert, look, there's a reason why Draymond said, yeah, buddy, you've been traded 7 times. I guess what I'm trying to say is that the Pistons do not have another shot creator, or they do not have another consistent shooter. Yes, I know some of y'all are going to talk down on Klay because, yes, he is 37, and some of y'all are going to say, well, he's not a good defender, he's not what he used to be, blah, 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 blah. Some of you guys forget that he's in a bad rebuilding situation in Dallas. Cooper Flag's going to be nice for years to come, and I don't doubt that he's going to be a champion with Dallas for years to come. But right now, it's not a great rebuilding situation for Klay, or for a guy like Klay, and to an extent Chris Middleton, who's also on the Mavericks. I think if I'm Detroit, I would explore trying to get Chris Middleton, or if you want to upgrade yourselves at power forward, move on from Tobias Harris, I'd get PJ Washington from Dallas, because PJ can do some of the things that Tobias can do, but he's younger, he's quicker, he's more athletic, and he's better than Toby, in my honest opinion. I don't know how some of y'all feel about that. Let me know in the comments. Klay Thompson would be a much better fit. And I feel like if Trajan Langdon, the GM for the Pistons, saw that, or at least explored KCP as an alternative, the Pistons will be 100 times better off with those guys or Luke Kennard. But no, let's just get Kevin Herter, who absolutely did nothing for me in 18 minutes of action. You know what I'm saying? A guy like Tobias Harris being your second leading scorer, it's not a good thing, in my opinion. That's no shade on Toby, but Jalen Duren is the second star. And the fact that Orlando limited his attempts and limited his roles, because people tend to forget, Jalen Duren is not one of those guys that can get his own shot by posting up guys or being a face up center. Like for example, Bam Adebayo, even though that guy he's yapping his ass off over that 83-point game. And then even DeAndre Ayton, I'll give DeAndre Ayton this. He could be a face-up five when he wants to be, and he's a decent shot creator in the mid-range area. I will give DeAndre Ayton that. As much as I do not like the guy, and I don't love the fact that he's on my team, he's always been good at doing that, dating his days back to Phoenix next to Devin Booker and Chris Paul. Jalen Duren is not that. If you limit Duren's rolls to the rim, the Pistons offense literally has nothing else going for them outside of, okay, Cade, get your buckets. Duren, get as many rolls and runouts for some easy baskets. Because remember, Orlando's a big team. Orlando has athleticism. Something that I feel like Detroit personally lacks. Because Duncan Robinson, he ain't the most athletic dude out there. I'm not talking about like, jump high, because all these players can jump high. All these players are athletes. But I'm talking about, guys that are very quick to the ball, that are very quick defensively. Orlando does have that, especially when they're all healthy. So all I'm saying is the Pistons better not fall down 0-2 because their next game will be on Wednesday. Now, will I be surprised if the Pistons turn things around and backdoor sweeps the Orlando Magic and win the series 4 games to 1? No, I will not be surprised at all. But at the same time, I don't think it'll be that easy. For me, at least. And a lot of people are feeling this way too. I watched a video from Andy Hoops at the gym, and it kind of made my perspective about this game a lot more clear. And I'm going to watch Commissioner Dynamo's vid. Shout out my guy, Commissioner Dynamo, who's also a Pistons fan. He might have his own insights about that game. But again, my problem with the Pistons is that they do not have a shot creator. And if Cade doesn't get those ball screens from Jalen Duren because of the fact the Magic limit his roll attempts, Cade is going to have to pretty much chuck up every shot. And one of the things that this kind of reminds me of is that 2023 first round series between the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks were the best team in the NBA back then. They had like what, 2 wins shy of 60? I think they were like 58-24. They were somehow the best team in the NBA. And then when they faced Miami, they lost game 1, and it was a lot of trouble brewing. And then game 2, they looked absolutely fine. They lost game 3. All right, and they were up 16 game 4. Games 4 and 5, I will tell you this, and this is not a knock on Miami with what they did back then with Spoelstra, Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin especially, etc., etc., etc. That's not a knock on them. But the Bucks beat themselves because they had no strategy outside of Giannis just barrel your way to the rim and Drew Holiday be the secondary shot creator. Because one thing, looking back at that tape, Miami limited Chris Middleton. It didn't help that Middleton was starting to be injury prone and Giannis had a bad back. But still, what happened was when they limited Chris Middleton's attempts and impact on the game, it forced Drew Holiday to be the shot creator. And Mike Budenholzer, who was the coach for the Milwaukee Bucks back then, didn't really have a strategy. Yes, Giannis had like 30 and 10. I think he averaged 30 and 10 in that series with like 5 assists and like a block or whatever. But still, they limited a lot of Chris Middleton's attempts, and it was just Giannis and Drew, please bail us out and hope that we get some heroics. You know what I mean? And again, Milwaukee beat themselves in that 5-game series because there was no defensive strategy towards Jimmy Butler. And it was just like Miami's strategy was, let's tire out Drew Holiday. Make him be the playmaker, facilitator, scorer while having him guard Jimmy. And Budenholzer just let that happen. And my biggest fear with the Pistons is that it's going to be the exact same thing. Let Cade Cunningham score all the buckets, but limit everybody else. If Tobias Harris is my second leading, or is their second leading scorer, then yo, I'm all for it. That's not going to hurt us. Don't let Duncan Robinson get a hot hand. Don't let Asar Thompson get free rides to the rim. and don't let Jalen Duren get a lot of points via the pick and roll. Again, my biggest thing for Detroit is that they fall down 0-2. That series is going to be over before we know it, and it's going to be very embarrassing for a team that was aspiring to win the championship or at least get to the conference finals to face the Boston Celtics, because I think the Boston Celtics will be in the conference finals. It's going to be like a lot of heads will roll if Detroit doesn't get the job done. Now, again, I will not be surprised if they turn around and win the series 4-1. But at the same time, I will not be surprised if the Orlando Magic builds off of this win last night and uses that to upset the Detroit Pistons in the first round. So that's my overall take on it. Again, I'm not trying to overreact. This is not like a knee jerk. I guess this is a kind of knee jerk reaction, but it's just like I saw something in that game that made me feel like maybe Detroit's not all that. Maybe they're kind of like one of those one seeds where they were there because they were incredibly hot during the regular season. And then when push came to shove, when everything started to slow down and teams started game planning for them, it's just like they were naked under the covers. Because again, they didn't really have a backup strategy when they blew up a lot of Cade Durham pick and roll. So I personally do not feel like this is a great matchup for Detroit because Orlando plays physical. We saw it in the Hornets game when Orlando punched their ticket to the 8th seed to get into the playoffs. We saw that when they're healthy and they're fully connected and they're all bought in, they're a pretty good basketball team. They look like a much different team than when they played the Philadelphia 76ers and in the last game of the regular season where they played the Boston Celtics B and C team. And I didn't really have a good feeling about Orlando, but they turned it around and it looks like they might do something that we haven't seen in 3 years. But again, I could be wrong. Detroit wins the series. And, I will make my series recap vid apologizing to a lot of Pistons fans. Who's going to win this series? And who's winning game two? Let me know in the comments. If your favorite team has gotten a game one win, like and subscribe. And yeah, series recap coming soon. That's the end of this video. I'm X. Deuces.